Right now on Face the State, it's his first week on the job as governor that included his first major announcement. How is Governor Ned Lamont doing so far? We'll ask reporters Emilie Munson of Hearst Media and Ebong Udoma of WSHU Radio. Lawmakers are also watching the new governor very closely. Senators Norm Needleman and Paul Formica are with us this Sunday. Plus, a battle brewing over Hartford City Hall as talk heats up about challengers taking on Mayor Luke Bronin. The Hartford Current's Rick Green will break down what could be 2019's hottest race. Our flashback, 48 years ago, legalizing marijuana was suggested, and Channel 3 investigated. It's all straight ahead this Sunday morning, January 20th, 2019.
From Eyewitness News, Connecticut's most watched local political program, this is Face the State.
It's 8:30. Good morning, and thanks for joining us for Face the State. I'm Dennis House. Ned Lamont has been governor now for 10 days. How is he doing? And what is he doing? With us today to talk about this, two reporters who are covering Governor Lamont this year, Emilie Munson of Hearst Connecticut Media and Ebong Udoma of WSHU Radio. We thank you both for being back here on the program.
Thank you.
You were both at the inaugural address. What did you think of the mood of the people who were listening to it? Obviously, a lot of supporters there, but there did seem to be a tone of optimism. I'll begin with you, Emilie.
Yeah, there was a tone of optimism, and I think people reacted quite favorably to his address. They thought that he struck a nonpartisan tone, and he covered a lot of ground. He laid out some of his priorities for improving Connecticut rail, putting more government services online, passing a $15 minimum wage and paid family and medical leave. So that impressed many of the people listening and gave us some things to think about for his priorities going forward.
Even some of the Republicans and his former opponents, David Stemmerman and Joe Gann, were on our program last week. They both said that he did strike an optimistic tone, and they are optimistic that he can make the changes the state needs.
Although I did speak with the Republicans, who they were happy with the speech, but they want to find out how he's going to pay for a lot of this stuff. And I know that they're also concerned about the $15 minimum wage. They feel that businesses cannot afford that right now. So they're open. The fact that he seems to have an open door policy is welcoming, but there's still Republicans who feel that that some of these issues are too liberal, and that they're not what the state should be doing right now.
You know, his first big move this week was to announce a partnership with Webster Bank and the Connecticut Banking Association to provide some loans to people who are working with the federal government but not getting paychecks right now. How is that going over?
That was a real astute move, and that was a great move, and that was something that both Republicans and Democrats praised. As soon as they heard about it, they were very open to it, and the fact that he was partnering with the business in the sense that he had Webster Bank along with him seemed to actually he's got quite a honeymoon going right now. I don't know how long it's going to last, but it was very well received on both sides.
What are your readers saying about it? Are they pleased so far?
I'll add that, you know, this step as one of his first in office is a continuation of his message on the campaign trail that was, I'm going to be the governor who's going to bring business and government together to find creative solutions to the state's problems. So by making one of his first acts a public-private partnership, he's trying to put his money where his mouth is and say, look, I'm actually going to follow up on what I promised on the campaign trail. It's still to be seen whether this is actually going to come to fruition. It does need some legislative approval, and those details are being worked out now. But I understand that the Webster Bank is reaching out to federal workers and trying to get the process underway.
Let's talk a little bit about the change in personalities at the Capitol. There's a big difference between Ned Lamont and Dan Malloy, and fair or not, some people are saying, well, this new governor is just a lot nicer and a little bit more affable and easier to deal with. Is that what you're hearing, Ebong?
A little bit goofy sometimes.
Well, we all saw that dancing.
But
a little bit goofy. What do you mean by goofy?
Well, you talked about the dance when at the inaugural ball, which was something to behold. But you know, he does have, you know, coming from the business community, he's trying to reach out as much as possible. And also the fact that he's hired quite a few people from the legislature into his administration is pretty helpful, because they know, and his lieutenant governor is also someone who knows state government very well. So that's being very well received.
You know, Emily, he got some good news this past week, and that is that the budget deficit's down slightly from 1.7 to 1.5 million, but he still has the budget address he needs to work on coming up in about 5 or so weeks. What are you hearing about what they're doing behind the scenes on this, in terms of what they're going to be asking for and what they're going to be calling for?
Well, they're playing their cards close to their chest a little bit in terms of what this first budget is going to contain. But we did get some indications in his State of the State address. We are hearing that he may be looking for some concessions from labor. We are hearing that he may be interested in regionalizing the delivery of state services in order to obtain more savings in the state budget. And then, you know, he wants to include some of the priorities that I mentioned earlier in that budget. So his staff is going to be working on that. They've been crunching the numbers and developing their plan since Ned was elected. And we will continue learning more about that in the coming weeks.
He certainly talked about transportation, but he didn't really talk specifically about tolls. Last week on this program, Matt Ritter, the majority leader, said he has not seen a toll proposal that he likes yet. Now, the governor has said on this program, in fact, several months ago, Douglas Hilton said, no tolls for cars, trucks only. What do you think?
That's going to be very difficult to do. There's this case in Rhode Island right now where a truck-only toll is being challenged. And so I think it will be very difficult for us to have a truck-only toll in Connecticut. I don't think the legislature would go for that. It's either going to be all vehicles on no toll. And I have a feeling that right now we probably will be getting tolls in Connecticut. It'll be late in the session before it passes, but I think it will pass.
And you think he will sign a car toll into law?
Well, if the legal argument is made that this will having a truck-only toll will probably not be allowed to stand by the courts, then he will then say, well, look, you know, this is what I tried to do. However, it won't be legal, so I'll go along with tolls across. But I don't know. You know, it's a long time between here and there, but that's probably how it will go.
A little bit later in the program, we're talking about marijuana, but this is also going to be a big issue this year. And there doesn't seem to be that much opposition to it. Republicans are sort of conceding, well, it's going to get passed. Correct? Is that what you're hearing?
I would say there continues to be some opposition to it. There's certainly still some Democrats who question the safety of using marijuana. But I think, you know, now that Democrats have a stronger majority in the House and a majority in the Senate, there is a significant likelihood that this may go forward, especially now that it has been legalized in Massachusetts and Connecticut residents can drive across the border and potentially purchase and use marijuana there.
And Rhode Island just introduced it. Massachusetts has legalized Vermont, and the governor says he wants it, so...
And New York as well.
Yeah, as well.
New York was pushing for marijuana legalization.
Ebong Udoma from WSHU, Emilie Munson from Hearst Media. We thank you so much for being on the program today. When we come back, we'll be talking with 2 state senators about what they think about how the governor has been doing. We'll also talk about the red-hot mayor's race in Hartford. At least they're saying it's going to be red-hot. And we'll take our flashback to marijuana in the early 1970s. We welcome you to watch past interviews of Face the State on our YouTube channel and on our app.